This is the most heartbreaking scene for any child. Their mother fought to protect them, at the cost of her arm. She wanted to eliminate the threat, but in doing so, she lost a part of herself for her young. Raising them alone in the unforgiving wilderness was already hard enough. Now, with an injury that stripped away her ability to hunt, she was tasked with an impossible mission: to keep her children alive with nothing but grit, instinct, and unconditional love. Helplessly, the cubs followed their weakened mother along the jagged coastline, their tiny paws dragging through cold sand as they searched for scraps, bits of rotting fish, bones, anything edible. They didn't understand hunger, not yet, but they understood fear. And their mother's eyes were filled with it. Behind them, a shadow stalked, George, the male bear who once fathered the cubs, now driven by nature's brutal urge to kill them and trigger a new mating cycle. For Anna, there was no choice. She had to keep moving. Anna had once known peace. She had mated, nursed, and napped beneath tall pines while the sea breeze whispered through her fur. She was like any mother, strong, tender, and fiercely protective. But peace is a fragile thing in the animal kingdom. George shattered it the moment he returned. Knowing the danger, Anna led her cubs to a rocky cliffside, a place where their small bodies could hide in narrow cracks. But George was relentless. He tracked them not just by scent, but by memory. He knew Anna. He knew her habits. He knew where she'd run. When he appeared on the cliff's edge, staring down with cold eyes, Anna had no doubt what he intended to do. That night, a silent war broke out between instinct and survival. No one witnessed it. Only the scars remained. The next morning, Anna lay across a log, silent, motionless, but not dead. Her eyes, once fierce, now stared blankly at the horizon. Her body was broken, and her paw hung limp. But she was alive. And so were her cubs. That was enough to start again. But the price of survival was steep. With a crippled paw, Anna could no longer fish, no longer dig. She resorted to scavenging like a vulture, picking through trash left by other predators. The cubs followed, mimicking her every move. Their tiny stomachs growled constantly. Hunger was now their only companion. Each day blurred into the next. Anna lost nearly 100 pounds. Her fur thinned. Her bones pressed against her skin. Still, she gave what little milk she could produce to her cubs, watching their eyes light up with hope, even if only for a moment. One night, as a cold wind swept in from the ocean, Anna finally collapsed. Her body couldn't go on. But her instincts didn't sleep. A strange scent in the air snapped her awake. Danger! She rose, trembling, and the cubs immediately sensed something was wrong. They turned their eyes to the distance. Dust swirled. Sand shifted. Something was coming. It was George. Panic surged through Anna's tired body. She nudged her cubs to move. Every step was agony, her paw leaving streaks of blood on the rocks. But she kept going, one step at a time, leading them away from death once again. Ahead, the scent of fresh meat filled the air, strong, pungent, irresistible. It was a chance. If she could reach it, maybe she could recover just enough strength to nurse the cubs back to life. But nature had its own rules. The feast had already been claimed by the largest male bear in the area. His dominance made him untouchable. No other bear dared approach while he ate. They waited in silence, watching, hoping for a turn. Among them, a smaller bear paced, visibly restless. Courage or desperation, it wasn't clear. But it didn't matter. Anna waited, watching from the shadows. The giant male bear, Blore, a mountain of muscle, was still feasting, tearing into the seal carcass like he owned the world. Around him, other bears lingered at a respectful distance, their noses twitching with hunger, but none dared to move forward. Anna knew she couldn't fight Blore. Not like this. Not with a missing paw and 3 starving cubs behind her. But she could outlast him. She crouched low behind a boulder, her breathing shallow. Every instinct screamed at her to run. George was still out there, and her scent was fresh on the wind. But her cubs needed food now, or they wouldn't make it through another night. She had no choice but to risk everything. Time passed slowly. The sun sank behind the mountains, casting a gold-red glow over the desolate beach. Blore, finally satisfied, lumbered away with a guttural grunt, his belly full and blood on his muzzle. The other bears sprang into action, rushing forward like hyenas. Chaos erupted, growls, swipes, snarls. Anna waited. Only when the frenzy calmed and the braver bears had taken their fill did she emerge. Her cubs trailed behind her, wide-eyed and hesitant. She limped forward and began to eat, desperately, ravenously. Her body screamed in pain with each bite, but she didn't stop. Every mouthful was a lifeline for her and her young. That night, under a sky littered with stars, she finally produced milk again. Her cubs suckled quietly, their tiny bodies curled beside hers for warmth. For a brief moment, the world seemed calm. But peace in the wild never lasts. By dawn, fresh tracks crossed their path. George was back on the hunt. The storm of survival had only paused, not passed. Anna moved again, pushing through dense underbrush, up craggy slopes, through icy streams. Her wound reopened. Her legs trembled. Her breath came in short gasps. But she didn't stop. Her cubs no longer whimpered. They knew what was at stake now. They walked in silence, their eyes constantly scanning for danger. These weren't the same cubs that once tumbled playfully in the meadow. They had grown fast. Nature forces its lessons early. One evening, they reached a narrow mountain pass where the winds howled like wolves. Anna sensed something, movement. George was closing in. The rocks were steep, the path perilous. One slip, and they would fall. Anna stood her ground. She didn't run this time. She turned, squaring her broken body between George and her cubs. George emerged from the mist, larger than she remembered. His eyes burned with primal drive. He stepped forward, and Anna roared. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even strong. But it was full of fire. Of defiance. George paused. In that moment, Anna's eldest cub did something unexpected. He stepped beside his mother, puffing up his tiny chest. Then another joined him. And another. 3 little bodies, fragile and exhausted, stood in a line beside their mother. George snarled. But he didn't move forward. Something shifted. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe it was instinct. Or maybe even the savage heart of a male bear could recognize the sacred power of a mother willing to die for her cubs. George backed away, slowly, reluctantly, and disappeared into the fog. Anna collapsed the moment he was gone. But her cubs nudged her, licked her face, cried softly. She would rise again. Anna's battle is more than just survival. It is strength, love, sacrifice. In a world ruled by hunger and instinct, she chose to protect, not to surrender. Share Anna's story, a story of the wild, but also a reflection of every mother's heart. Like, comment, and follow for more raw and real stories of the natural world's unsung heroes.